Hi, everybody. Welcome to. I got a new toy, by the way. My little on-air button. We're officially on the air. I got it for my birthday.
Nice.
My sister-in-law. Anyway, we're officially on the air. Welcome, Conversation with Calvin, We the Species. I'm with Kristine Genovese, and I've never said this before, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to start this recording. I just wanted to keep on talking to Kristine. And that's true because there's so much commonality and there's so much fascination with your work, and the commonality and the spirituality and the whole and the nutraceuticals and I mean the whole package of you and the tennis and but the work you've done with soul intelligence and I have to show everybody because I've been doing my due diligence. I've been reading. We have to talk about that. I'm gonna bring it up here. Healing through soul intelligence. And you're like all over the
I
country.
got it. Here's the physical, and you've
I
got
got the Kindle. I've got the
the
Kindle.
Kindle.
I've been reading it. I've been taking
Awesome.
notes. My mind has been expanded. Truly. A quick title: Kristine Genovese, an author, healing through soul intelligence, spirituality, holistic health, bioenergetics, tennis, nutraceuticals, live from Florida. That is where you
That's
are.
right. That's right. You
So
got it
that's
all.
the title of this. And so we're doing this. There's so much to unpack. And it's so important because you know what, folks? It's life. This is life. And it's a quality of life. And it's a discovery. And you're going to, how about doing a little background, Kristine? I know you came from the corporate world. You were remarkably, by the way, you were remarkably successful. And here's another bond for us. As I'm reading what you wrote, you felt, and you're doing really great in corporate America. I came from corporate America myself, but you said something was missing.
Hmm.
And in my book, I don't mind promoting it. There's a tortoise in my hair, a journey to spirit. One of the themes was something was missing.
Hmm.
Something was missing. Something was there, and I couldn't define it. I couldn't touch it. And then early on in my reading, you said something was missing. So this old-fashioned Johnny Carson monologue is done. Why don't you do, why don't you do a little intro
A little
and
shtick
a
over
little
here.
shtick. Do a little shtick, and then we'll jump into some questions and things. Take it away, Kristine.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, Calvin, I'm delighted to be here with you. And as you shared, we even had a conversation before today that we lost track of time. I really enjoy your company, and as you said, we share so much in common. Um, I did write the book Healing Through Soul Intelligence. My last name is Genovese. I am originally from New York City, just across the river from you. Another little coincidence. And yes, I come by the name, spiritual gangster, honestly, because my great great Uncle Vito happened to be the Vito Genovese in New York City, who's a pretty famous fella, or infamous, depending on how you look at it. So I'm bringing light to the name, right? I am making sure that we bring all good things to our Italian heritage now. But as you mentioned, I originally was a corporate turnaround specialist, and I was really good at what I did. I loved it. And I was a corporate turnaround specialist until March 12th of 2020, at which time I was given a call, or I received a call from the head of HR letting me know my services were no longer needed. And that was really shocking because I had never been fired in my career before. I had always met or exceeded expectations. I had just gotten a performance bonus. So, talk about being in complete shock, right? It was year one of a planned 3-year turnaround. And when the head of HR let me know that my services were no longer needed, I'm like, why? What's going on? And he said, well, the CEO decided he wanted to go in a different direction. I'm like, what? Backwards? I was totally in shock. I happened to be at doctor's appointment with my now husband, but we were married at the time. And so I'm going through all the stages of panic, like, oh my gosh, I'm the breadwinner. Oh my gosh, I have the benefits. What are we going to do? Um, And it was COVID, right? March 12th of 2020. That was the start of it. So I texted my boss, the COO at the time, and I said, I just got fired. And he says, me too. I'm like, what? Okay. So we spoke, and I had been asking to hire people in the fourth quarter. And I kept getting told no. The CEO wants to, hold on expenses through the end of the year. And I'm like, well, we're not going to have what we need to make the first quarter, but okay. So sure enough, March 12th was a Thursday. We were due to hold the board meeting on Monday. And the board deck we had put together showed had we been able to hire the people we wanted to in the fourth quarter, not only would we have met the Q1 expectation, we would have exceeded it.
Wow.
Yeah. So what the CEO did is he fired me and my boss, walked into the board meeting with our board deck and said, we didn't hire enough people, and went on a hiring spree. Holy cow. Well, at least, there's karma. So he was investigated by the board. He was removed from office, and he put a crony in, and he and his crony buddy summarily ran the company into the ground. It doesn't exist today.
Wow.
So what did that do for me? To me, I think that was divine intervention, like pulling me out of what I've always done. And it gave me a 9-month period of time to birth something new. And because I was wrongfully terminated, I did get a severance package that afforded me the opportunity to really take my time, and I was like freaking out at first, going, oh my gosh, I got to get something else. What am I going to do? And then I went through all the signs of grief. I was angry, I was upset, I just couldn't believe it, in shock, all of that. And then I finally got quiet and I started to do some prayer and meditation. And I had this one really powerful moment where I heard, you're supposed to bring soul intelligence into the world. And I had tears running down my face, and I knew I couldn't go back into corporate America. It felt soul crushing. And so when we talk about something missing, I think Brandon Burchard really put it in such a way that really resonated with me. He said, most of the time, for years, we operate at our zone of excellence. Everybody loves us in that role. Everybody sees us in that role. We identify ourselves in that role. This badass corporate executive, adrenal junkie, plane hopping, crazy lunatic that I was, right? And I was really good at it, right? I knew what people, processes, technology needed to move, to shift, to get the business to achieve the objectives. You're paid really well. So to step out of that and move into something called my zone of genius was pretty scary. And it took a lot of courage to, come out of what we'll call the spiritual closet, because I would use a book of charts and a pendulum in my hotel room to figure out what are the underlying energies, what are the things common to this group, like this company or this team or this region, that were preventing them from succeeding. I just wouldn't walk into a boardroom with a book of charts and a pendulum, right? They would think I was out of my mind. So I was doing the work before I did the work, before I developed my own soul intelligence method. But that's really how it was born.
Okay. Wow. Well, yeah, because of my journey, I'm so into this,
Mm-hmm.
and understand it, and plunge into this and taking notes, because of my journey, because it's real and it
Mm-hmm.
works. And the trouble with 99% of us is we're so busy and wrapped up with whatever we're wrapped up in, we don't take the time to take a deep breath and to channel and emotions. And I love how you weave Einstein uh, into so much of this, because I think I showed you last time. We
Mm-hmm.
I I channeled Albert Einstein. Um, you talk about him, and we'll talk about him shortly. But I have his eyes
Right, staring at you.
staring at me for this is about 20 years, and
Wow.
he's been looking at me, and I used to talk to him. Anyway, um, we've heard this before, but why don't you just kind of go over it again? How we use just 5% of this.
Sure. So I really look at our physical body as a barometer to our conscious mind. Okay. So when something shows up in the physical, in your physical body, it's been there for a while. And our bodies are trying to communicate to us that something's wrong. But we spend, most of our time in our brain, right? calculating, figuring, strategizing, all of that in our brain. And our brain has about a 2 foot wide electromagnetic field around it, whereas our heart has a 6 foot wide electromagnetic field around it, according to the Heart Math Institute. It is infinitely more powerful. Now, yes, we definitely need that 5% of our mind, okay, the conscious mind. That is the electric spark, the electric part of the electromagnetic field. It all starts with that pineal gland, that signal you send out, right? That is the electric spark that goes into the field of all possibilities, or the divine, or source, or God, or whatever you'd like to call that. And what collapses that wave into particle form is emotion, energy in motion. We are all energy and frequency. And that is what Einstein said. He said the future of medicine is frequency. And that's because we are energetic beings. And I think if we all rewind the clock, going back to grade school, we were taught that we're all electrons, protons, neutrons vibrating in this electromagnetic field, right? So we're energy. But I think we forget that because we're physical, we're corporal, and we feel separate. But we're all connected. Everybody and everything is energy. We know it from science. Yet, we allow things to get streamed into our living rooms on our TVs or onto our phones. Or the only way I'm seeing you right now through the Zoom is an energy transfer. We just take it for granted that it just comes out of 5G and just shows up, right? So everyone and everything is energy. And so energy can get trapped in people, places, or things, just like you can get trapped in your mental body, your emotional body, and your physical body. So the subconscious mind is running the show 95% of the time, which is really a good thing because, we want to breathe when we're sleeping, right? But it's also part of our autonomic nervous system. And most of us spend a great deal of our time in fight or flight or freeze or fawn, right? We're always amped. And in order to receive messages, in order to hear what's going on out there and get out of this very thin particle world, the physical, there's so much infinitely more possibilities and frequency out there than what we see. That's just a reflection. In order to be able to do that, we have to get quiet and we have to go within. So, the subconscious mind is a pretty interesting animal. But what I'm saying to you is, when you notice something in the physical, the reason my method, works is it's actually founded in the field of bioenergetics. Like I've studied neuroscience, neuroplasticity, quantum physics, and bioenergetics. Bioenergetics essentially means when it was documented in the 1950s by Dr. Alexander Lowen. And what it says is that when you physically don't feel well, mentally and emotionally, you're probably not doing so hot either, and vice versa.
So it's
Okay?
related.
Common sense. We're one being, we're one person, but we have a mental body, an emotional body, a physical body, an energetic body or spiritual body, depending on how you look at it. And so because we're magnetic, we pull things into ourselves. And emotion is supposed to be energy in motion. When energy gets stuck or it pools in the physical body, that's when it causes dis-ease, dysfunction, or a dissonance in your frequency, and you need to go see the doctor. So I work in the field of functional medicine with integrative health practitioners because they treat the whole person holistically. This is a therapy that I use with MDs. As a matter of fact, a lot of the stories in my book are actually of me helping heal the healers, right? And then consequently, having my practitioners work with their patients. So all I can tell you is it works. And I'm happy to share some cool stories too, whatever you'd like.
Well, you know what? Throw a couple of cool stories. Just
Throw a story out just for,
because
okay.
it works. I used to see for several years. I used to go to New York to on Park Avenue of all things
Hmm.
to see an MD and a holistic.
Yeah, probably an ND as well as an MD,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Off the charts, brilliant. And
Hmm.
there was some magnets and stuff. So I'm just saying what you're talking about really, really works because
Well, I think there's a spectrum to medicine, right? We have this allopathic model where we either medicate it or cut it out. That's kind of, what we've got going on in most of our healthcare system in the country. And look, if I'm bleeding or having a heart attack, yes, I want that care. I want that critical care. But what we have more of, as a matter of fact, 95% of all doctors' visits today are for chronic conditions, things that just won't heal. And our system isn't really set up to deal with chronic conditions. It's set up to deal with acute conditions. So I think there's a spectrum for natural medicine to also, have a place, right? Where we're helping ourselves holistically. And that means not only what's going on in the physical, because by the time it showed up in the physical, it was there from something, an old trauma, an old pattern, a self-limiting belief, negative energies, emotions, and thoughts. Like that energy has been stuck in there for a long time before it started to cause the dysfunction to get your attention, right? It could be something simple. Say, for example, you wake up, you got a kink in the left side of your neck. You're like, oh, that's interesting. I must have slept wrong. Well, maybe, but the left side of the body is female. And neck is about inflexibility. So either you're being inflexible with your partner or your partner's being a pain in the neck, depending on how you look at the situation. You got to deal with it, okay? So it's something as simple as that. But I'll share a story. So I have one practitioner, actually an MD, who's also an ND, so a medical doctor and a naturopathic doctor. As a matter of fact, the lady that wrote the foreword to my book is a triple board certified
Sure.
MD who's also a naturopathic doctor, but this is a different story. And this lady was like, look, I handle the medical part of the practice. My husband handles the business part of the practice. And they were having some marital trouble, right? And basically, the husband was saying he wanted her to expand her practice into another city, and she wasn't bought into the idea, and it was making her uncomfortable and him uncomfortable and causing friction in the relationship. And so I did a session for her in her office. And then she says to me, the next day, she sends me a text. She goes, oh my God, I don't know how you do what you do. I just know it works. She said, my husband has never treated me so lovingly. We never had a better conversation. How did you do that? You cleared me. How did it affect him? And I
Wow.
said to her, well, think about it, right? Your energy shifted. You were in a much different place. So energetically, he's reacting differently to you. So when you decide to work on you, it doesn't just affect you, it affects the people in your household or your friends or your coworkers. But I also want to throw out a quantum physics theory as well, which is called the butterfly effect, which basically says if a butterfly on one side of the world changes its normal trajectory of flight pattern, it can cause a tsunami on the other side of the world. And that's because we're all connected. And I share that to say, when you choose to heal yourself, you're not only helping the people around you that you interact with, directly, but you're also helping to raise the consciousness of the planet collectively because you're choosing to elevate. So no matter when you decide to heal, you're going to also help other people heal, which is, I think, truly a gift. That's just one story. I dealt with another doctor, and she was like really struggling. She couldn't put any weight on her foot for a good 4 months. And I was like, you're a doctor. What do you mean you can't put weight on your foot? What are you doing? Did you get a scooter, crutches? What are you splinting? What? She goes, I can't figure it out. I don't know why I can't put any weight on this foot. And I said, all right, well, she said, I need you to do a session. I'm like, fine. So I do a session. I did this one via Zoom remotely. And I said to her, I go, whoa, what is going on? What is with all these men not supporting you? And she said to me, she goes, oh my gosh, I had a deal with contractors in my home. They didn't do the proper work. I had to get an attorney. I had to sue them. They're not correcting the problem. My attorney won't even call me back. I go, well, there you go. So I worked on clearing that situation, the root cause of that. And then I got a text from her the very next day, and she said, oh my God, I literally was crawling to the bathroom because I couldn't put weight on this foot. I can now put weight on my foot. I said, it's because you didn't want to move. You couldn't move forward. You couldn't put weight on that foot. I go, energetically, that's what was happening. Your body was like, no, enough. I go, well, now that you can put weight on your foot, you better put that foot up the backside of your attorney and get him to pick up the phone. And she goes, that's my next call. And
Um,
so it can be immediate like that, right? Typically, anytime I work with someone, they're going to feel lighter. They're going to, feel differently. Because just like you go to a chiropractor, you get a biomechanical adjustment, you come to me for a bioenergetic adjustment. So you're going to feel it. You're either going to feel more relaxed or lighter. Some people do release trauma during the session, right? You might cry because, I bring up the where, who, what, where, when situation, but then it's over. It's not like you're sitting in therapy for, months on end repeating the same situation to try and cry it out or scream it out, right? This is really passive. All you got to do is show up to a session. And
and
typically that's via Zoom.
yeah, and wow, and you can elicit that change so quickly. I can see that. I can see that. Yeah, I did a to give more credence to the work you do. I did a part of my journalism. I did a clairvoyant and a spiritual healer, a year ago, and she just nailed. She nailed. I mean, I thought she was going to hit me with glittering generalities. I was very cynical about the whole experience. She was going to do me, and I
Yep.
was going to, and she's down in Texas, and
Sure.
her name's Ravel Lorette. But glittering generalities like, "Oh, you're going to have a bad day next week." Well, we all have a bad day next week. Come on. But
You never know.
by just feeling me
Hmm.
through a Zoom. She
Yes.
was able to tell me things about myself that not even my wife out there in the kitchen even knew about, my high school
Interesting.
experience, and I was bullied and stuff, and that still resonates and that still sits with me, but I've channeled it into a productive thing. But
Hmm.
and she told me my soul was 1,200 years old, and I know that part of
Of
the
course,
soul,
you're an old soul.
I'm an old soul. I'm an old soul,
I hear you, brother.
yeah, and again, this is to fortify what you said.
Hmm.
You can do these things through Zoom, and it was remarkable how she did these things and told me things. So it works. It
It
works.
does. It
Um,
does. But it's all the things, right? It's not one thing.
Complicated.
So I'll share a personal healing story. How about that?
Yes.
Um, as I mentioned, I grew up in corporate America, and I grew up at a time when women had to work twice as hard as the men in their same roles to earn the same money. It was just part of the culture at the time. I bumped my head on the glass ceiling so many times, I probably still have bumps and lumps. But I learned that I needed to behave more like a man if I wanted to be accepted as a woman. So being a New Yorker, not a problem. We can be tough, right? But I made sure I kept up on sports statistics. I used crass language. I would make fun of somebody.
We lost your voice. I can't hear you.
Can't hear me?
Now I hear you.
Oh, I could hear you. And
Yeah.
I could, you didn't hear me.
No, for a second I didn't hear you. Uh,
Interesting. Okay. Well, basically, what I was saying is, kind of like Tom Hanks, there's no crying in baseball. Emotions had no place in the workforce, right? Couldn't show emotion. You had to be very objective, all logic. And so I really devalued myself as a woman, right? I saw being a woman as being weak. Well, I went in for my normal lady girl exam, and the doctor told me I had an abnormal pap smear and I needed to come in and do an in-office procedure. I was like, what? So I went for the in-office procedure and they did the biopsy there, which was very painful. And because, they're cutting your parts. And then she called me again and said, hey, there's too many of these samples we took with abnormal cells. We need to go and do a conical biopsy in the hospital. I'm like, what? So you hear biopsy, you think the word cancer, you start freaking out. And at the time, I hadn't developed soul intelligence, but I had a book of charts and a pendulum that I had used, something that I was familiar with to try and shift my own stuff. But sometimes you need other people to help. So I went to everybody. You mentioned a psychic. So I went to a psychic and she said, you need to get in touch with your divine feminine. I go, well, what the hell does that mean? okay, at the time, right? It's a little more pop culture now, but I was like, what? I got to grow my hair long, get long dresses, flowy. Do I have to dance? And what I realized, I started to research um, really strong women like Isis and Sekhmet and these Egyptian goddesses that ruled for years and were incredible, strong leaders. And Joan of Arc, like all incredible people. There's a myriad. But I started to realize, oh, women can be strong too. And I also went to like an energetic acupuncturist. I did, energy work. And one person said to me, just go within and start seeing everything vibrating healthy. And I went, that's a great idea. I'm going to do that. Then I had one other girlfriend who's a massage therapist and energy worker say to me, by the time you go to get that biopsy, it's going to be gone. I go, you're right. I'm going to make sure it's gone. And so I started to meditate every day that it's gone. My cells are happy. Everything's vibrating good. Well, I went in the hospital. I had the clinical biopsy. And I will never forget my OBGYN's face when she came out and she said, it's gone. We must have cut it all out. I'm like, yeah, we must have. So
Wow.
was it that we cut it all out? Was it all the energy work? Was it me finally accepting me as a woman? At the time, I was so disconnected from my own body. I was like, I'm done having kids. We'll just take my parts out. I'll get a hysterectomy. Who cares? I'm like, that's how cavalier I was at the time.
Wow.
So I'm very grateful, that I had that experience in my own body to recognize, whoa, this is how you can shift what's going on internally and have it show up in the physical.
Wow. It's
So
so
it's all the things. It's not one thing, right?
right.
It's all the things.
All the things. So powerful, and it works. You know, and it works, and
There
that's
you go.
why I'm so thrilled talking to you because it works. I told you my AFib story. 15 years AFib, and then I decided. I mean, I don't even know what the hell I'm doing sometimes. I'm now I'll know a little bit more because I have SI here to kind of guide me and to study up. But I took myself out of AFib. Nobody who had it 15 years does that. So stuff works.
It
Um,
does.
let's take a little bit of a break, and I want to reach out to one of my favorite journalists, Barbara Walters, who's a great inspiration for me. Uh,
Okay.
by the way, in my book, you talk
Mm-hmm.
women. I'm plugging this again. In my book and in real life, I had three role models, three heroes. It wasn't Mickey Mantle. It was Althea Gibson,
Mm.
who was a great tennis player.
Mm-hmm.
50s. She was a hero of mine, always was a hero of mine. So my three heroes were Althea Gibson in my book and in real life, and Fannie Lou Hamer, who was a civil rights worker back in the 60s, who said one of the greatest things ever. She said, quote, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired." I mean, I just love that. And Mamie Till, Emmett Till's mother, who was so brave. Uh,
Mm.
when he got murdered down in Mississippi, she insisted on leaving the casket open. So these three women just happen to be they're three women, and they're all African American. I didn't
Mm.
plan it that way, but these were three heroes of mine, strong, amazing women.
Interesting.
It is
Fabulous.
interesting. Yeah, it is. And I write about it. And my first book, 20 years ago, I wrote about Mamie Till as well. 20 years ago, before anybody even knew who she was a hero of mine. Anyway, so to Barbara Walters, she inspired me to ask this question to you, Kristine. Excluding family, this is really off topic now, necessarily, maybe. Excluding family or friends, somebody living or dead you'd like to spend a day with.
Oh gosh.
It could be, it could be a
You
couple.
know, I gotta say, probably my one of my greatest mentors is Dr. Joe Dispenza, right? He really pioneered quantum physics and neuroscience and has done so much to bring um, scientific research using these scientists at the UC Davis to evaluate people before they do this 7-day intensive meditation retreat and people afterwards, and everybody's affected in a positive way and their biology physically changes. And I think he's done so much to get people to understand how to connect to the divine or source, or that's where everything comes from before it drops into this physical form, right? And I think we think it's the other way around a lot. And I just find him fascinating. You know, he was a doctor of chiropractic. He, had a biking accident where he was told his spine was, totally broken and was told he would never walk again, let alone anything else. And he discovered the power of meditation and healed his own body. So he's a living embodiment and example of the power of the coherence between the heart and the mind and the brain. And he's actually given me a renewed enthusiasm for my own meditation practice, right? So I have gone on a 7-day retreat actually relatively recently, and it was absolutely life-changing. And so to have the opportunity to even be in a room with him was great. And I would love to sit around the table and like have a deep conversation with him. I think that would be absolutely fascinating.
Great answer. Wow. One more off-topic question. Do you have like favorite movies?
Favorite movies? Gosh, I love so many of them. The first one that comes to mind for me is kind of cavalier. There's a couple, but the first one is Almost Famous. I love that movie. About a young journalist, right, who follows a band around. And Penny Lane, I have the hair. I just need the glasses, I think, the main character in that. And I think that was a really fun movie. And I also loved the Devil Wears Prada with Meryl Streep.
Yeah,
First of all, it's set in New York City. She played, a characterization, I think, of Anna Wintour with
correct.
Vogue. And it was about this young assistant who finally chose herself over money.
Yeah.
And so I just was like, I have chills when I share that with you. So, I mean, there's so many, but
Yeah,
those probably are the top two
I
for
know.
me.
Yeah. I marvel her characterization. I mean, how she nailed Anna Winter. I marvel at her altogether
Oh,
because
of course.
Sophie. I mean, her whole body of work, and of course, I was thrilled to meet her and talk to her uh, when I snuck into that movie. Uh, I think did I tell you that story? I won't
We,
tell you. I I
you
I,
might have, you might
I
have.
don't know if the last time, but it was one of my claims to fame. I went to watch them filming a movie in One True Thing, and police led us, and we were just my sister and I were just watching them make snow, and it was a period piece. She was nominated for a Academy Award for this, and we grabbed a slice of pizza because they let us, on the set because they weren't shooting, and my sister and I took an hour and a half to eat one slice. We set a new mastication. I call it pizza mastication record. 1 hour and a half,
Hmm.
one slice shared. And
That's amazing.
then we walked out just to watch all the activity. And it was cold. It was November '97, and Meryl Streep and
Gosh, you got a good memory.
yeah, and they were
I can
all
barely remember what I had for lunch the day before. How do
oh
you
no, I
recall?
remember.
Holy Moses.
Yep, I remember it all. And we're just watching. My sister and I are just watching, and all of a sudden I feel there's somebody standing next to me, and I look, and it's Meryl Streep and William Hurt and Renee Zellweger.
Wow.
So I got all verklempt, I couldn't, from Saturday Night Live, I couldn't talk, but then I
Mm,
spit it out. I started talking to her, and
so
and
cool.
and while I'm talking to her, one of the production assistants made the assumption that I'm part of that entourage. And
Ah.
he came over to me and said, we got to place you now. So I gave my sister a shot in the ribs, and I told the assistant, yeah, all right, I'm ready, place me, and boom, right smack on the set. And then I figured I got this far, so you actually see me in the movie pushing
That's so
out of the way
stinking
to get up
cool.
front. So I'm in the movie, One True Thing, and I wasn't paid.
Well, oddly enough, I am in a movie that's coming out in early of 2026. Yeah, it's called The Pillars of Power,
Uh-huh.
and it is a 20-year anniversary of The Secret. If you remember The Secret
Yeah, I
that came
do. I
out,
read it.
yeah, one of the first books on manifestation.
Wow.
And a lot of the original cast members are in it, like Marie Diamond, and yeah, I know John Assaroff, there's Ken Hunt, Dr. Joe Vitale, like all kinds of incredible transformational specialists. along with some of today's transformational specialists like myself. So that'll be streaming, and it's a documentary. And it's all about the pillars of power, which are the key areas in your life that you want to move forward with, which is always yourself, right? Relationships, wealth, mental wellness, all the key buckets. So I'm excited for that to happen. That's
That's
going to be
great.
pretty cool.
Hey, when it comes out, you'll come back here. We'll talk about it, and I'll promote it in my little microcosmic world
I
because
love it. That'd be
it's
so
very,
fun.
very exciting.
It is super exciting.
Yeah,
I'm
that's great.
thrilled.
All right, back to work. Um,
Okay.
this is a huge subject that's just beginning to have the lights shine on it. Talk about the gut
Mm,
in your overall healing and stuff.
I do. I do. Well, Hippocrates said umpteen thousand years ago, right? At least 2,000 years ago, that all health begins and ends in the gut. And so if we think about why, so think about, why functional medicine doctors start with the gut. All right. There's a reason for it. The first thing I want to share is think about what the gut does, right? It produces the largest amount of serotonin, the happy hormone, more so than your brain. It's in your gut. It has like all these microorganisms in there, right? Good bugs, bad bugs, right? We want more of the good bugs to digest the food and less of the bad bugs that are in there. But if you think about it from an energetic standpoint, beyond that, the stomach stores food and processes food, it's where we store emotions or process emotions or don't. And if you think about like when you're about to go on, and maybe have to do a presentation and you have to stand up in a bunch of, in front of people, most people get butterflies, right? You get them in your stomach. You get that queasy feeling. Or you, you're walking into a cocktail party and it's just really stiff and you're just not feeling it. You feel that uncomfortable feeling in your stomach, or you get bad news. You feel like you're punched in the gut. There's a reason for that. So if you talk about the energy centers, and most people I think are familiar with the term chakras, but that's basically the Sanskrit word um, to to talk about the energy centers. The first one is at your root chakra, your base chakra. And then the next one is your sacral chakra, right? That's the base chakra is at the base of your spine, the root. The sacral chakra is, where your sexual organs are. That's where you birth babies and birth information, creativity. That's our seat of creation, right? For both men and women. The third chakra, where our stomach is, our gut is actually where we like feel emotions, hold emotions, process emotions, but it's also how we feel about ourselves. It is our self-esteem chakra. It's how we show up in the world. So it is what gets hit first all the time. And typically it's relationships, not only the relationship to ourself, but the relationship to others, right? And so it's the first place to take the hit. So a lot of functional medicine doctors start with the gut because most of us don't have good gut health for lots of reasons, right? When we talk about the reason why energy gets stuck in the body, right? I talk about it being energy that's no longer emotion. There are reasons for that, right? And the underlying causes of dis-ease that are underneath that energy that's blocking are the first thing is chronic stress, which most of us are under, right? Chronic stress causes inflammation in the body and certainly affects our gut. The second thing is toxicity, and toxicity comes in many forms. It can be chemicals in the home or on the lawn or whatever, but it can also be people, right? That person that calls your cell phone and you just cringe. You're like, do I really want to pick that up and deal with that energy vampire? Okay. It could also be, what are you watching? What are you listening to? What are you reading? What toxicity are you putting in? The third thing is nutrition. We're like a computer, garbage in, garbage out. There's food and junk. There is no junk food. You got to pick. And then, so poor nutrition contributes. Then there's lack of movement. Sittings become the new smoking. So we got to move. Our bodies were made to move. And that's one of the ways that you can get energy out of the body is movement. The last thing is genetics. It's the smallest component. It's only 5%. That means 4 out of 5, we've got complete control over our own agency for our health, our own well-being. So there's a lot of things that we can do to affect it. But like I said, everything begins and ends in the gut, and that's usually why functional medicine starts there. As we kind of move up the chakras, I'll just finish it. You get to the heart chakra, because that really combines the lower earth chakras, like the stuff we deal with here on earth, um, and then the upper chakras, which is our throat chakra, speaking our truth in the world, the third eye, our intuition, right? And then our crown, our connection to the divine or source. So the heart is where everything commingles, hence why it's got the 6 foot wide energy field and how powerful it is, right? The seat of our emotions. And then the lower chakras are really about how we operate in this world, whether we feel safe and grounded, our creation, our creativity, what we contribute to the world. It's kind of interesting when you think about the sacral chakra too. For men, it's the prostate area. And one of the main reasons why so many men get prostate cancer is because they don't have a purpose anymore. They've lost their sense of purpose.
Wow.
So it's one of the reasons why it happens at retirement, right? They felt like they're not as vibrant or vital.
Wow. By the way, what you said is, I read a million articles, especially on longevity, and I just joined this thing, Super Agers, and we have seminars every couple of weeks, and I'm reading all these articles. But what you said is so brilliant, Christine.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you.
No, because in everything I'm reading now is purpose,
Mm,
purpose, purpose, purpose. You turn 65, you retire, and you're sitting on a porch, and there's no purpose. And one of the keys, and it's not, and it's 80, it's 80-90% of your whole well-being is purpose. And I listen, I like to call myself a poster boy. I'm an octogenarian now, and uh,
that's amazing.
an
Totally
octogen,
amazing. As sharp as you are, the
yeah,
memory, holy Moses, you've been taking
correct.
good care of yourself, my
Correct.
friend.
We're going to get to part of the reason, I believe, shortly, and I'm watching the clock. Don't worry.
Okay.
I'm on top of everything. No, it's I have a purpose. I just wrote my third book. Did I tell you that? I don't know.
You said you were in the process. I didn't know
Yeah,
you actually completed it.
yeah. Well, I did, and actually,
Cool.
it's called 10 Things I Learned from the Billionaire. Um,
Oh, we did talk about
yes,
it.
I
That's
thought,
right. We did
yes.
talk about it.
Yes. 10 things I learned from the billionaire. And that'll probably be out in November because I'm collaborating with a wonderful and amazing woman, Kay Wagner. She's a best-selling author in her own right. She read my novel about tortoise and said, there's a novel, let's talk about it, boom, boom, boom. And in 7 weeks I banged that out, and I have four more to do this year, this year, next year. But anyway, the whole thing is purpose, 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 socialization, purpose, which is what you said. Um, I want to go back to the gut and ask you a question. So,
Certainly.
uh, in 1975, for several different reasons, I stopped eating anything with four legs.
Mm.
And so I haven't, now I said four legs, so I'm a flexitarian. Flexitarian, not a Presbyterian. I'm a flexitarian. And
Occasionally you'll have a little fish, maybe?
yeah, fish, chicken, turkey.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
I'm not
All
perfect.
right.
I'm not
Okay.
perfect, but I'll swear that that abstention has has influenced my life and my health and my well-being. I'm walking around with zero coronary artery plaque. I get into these debates with a really good friend of mine who's a gastroenterologist, and he's saying this, and I'm saying, I'm sorry, I disagree. In your opinion, does it, I mean, for me, it worked really well. But throwing all those chemicals and hormones and stuff into the gut,
Mm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I think it's chacun a son goût, to quote a French phrase, which basically says, to each his own. I think what works for you and what works in your body, right? The other hat that I wear in my life, besides being the creator of the Soul Intelligence Method, I'm also the chief growth officer for a company called Nutritional Frontiers.
That was my next question. We got to
Yep.
take it
And
away.
so, alrighty. And so, Nutritional Frontiers is a nutraceutical company, which means we produce healthy vitamins and healthcare products like shakes and nutraceuticals to help support body health. And our number one seller, GI Complete, because of how many problems that people have in their GI tract. And we also combine multiple different ingredients that are patented, researched, and trademarked. So they're the highest quality you can get in the best form so your body absorbs it and can use it. And so that's why this line is a professional line where we actually sell direct to healthcare professionals. I love that work because I get to help heal people and make the world healthy physically with Nutritional Frontiers, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, energetically with Soul Intelligence, and I get to be all of me at this company. I'm very grateful. The CEO of the company was originally a coaching client of mine who flipped my coaching methods on me and said, "You know, you're going to come work for me full time someday." And I was like, "Nah, it's not going to happen." Well, 3 years ago, it happened. And it happened because our missions are aligned, right? We want to make the world healthy. It also happened because it's a family-owned company, so it's not a corporation. Although it's incorporated, it's not like a big company from whence I came. So it allowed me to bring soul intelligence to that world of functional medicine as well. But when you talk about specifically what works in the body, we can't get what we need anymore, even if we eat the best organic food, even if we, go to Whole Foods and get the best produce we possibly can. Our soil's been depleted for a long time, okay? And even, the Journal of American Medicine, said back in the 80s, everybody needs a multi, right? At very least, everyone needs a multivitamin. And if you did nothing else, getting a multivitamin and omega-3, the good fish oil in your body, those two things are a foundation and a staple for everybody. Now, I have a regimen. Like when I travel with so many nutraceuticals now, I bring my shakes with me no matter where I travel. And I put my nutraceuticals in baggies so I know what I'm taking in the morning, what I'm taking at night. I can't carry bottles, so it's too much. But I watch what I eat, right? I'm conscious about it. I'll have a shake for breakfast, so I set my body up right for the day. I might have a light salad for lunch or another shake, and then I have a reasonable dinner. And I pretty much eat the Mediterranean type diet, right? Protein, veggie, maybe every once in a while a little carb, little something just to give my body the energy it needs. So I think if you do anything in moderation, right, you'll know how your body responds. And believe it or not, like my body, my blood type's O positive. And there's something about being O positive where your body craves red meat. So
Wow.
I will, yeah, have a steak, if I need to, just to get some of that red meat in me. I also am Italian and I can't go a month without pasta. I just can't. So it's like part of my diet and how I grew up. But again, everything in moderation, right? Our bodies are wonderful machines that are designed to heal themselves. And if you give the body what it needs, it can heal anything. And that means mentally, emotionally, and physically. So I am a big proponent for doing what's right for you, and going from there.
What a perfect way to conclude this
Mm.
session. Perfect. Well, perfect. Listen, one more area where I so subscribe to you because I've been doing the
Oh, you've been living right, my friend.
I've been doing the right thing. I've been taking
Yes, you
supplements
have.
since 1969. I do 60 a day. I tweak it. I don't do mega doses. So everything about you, Kristine. So I'm very grateful to the universe for the connection.
Bringing us together.
Yeah, I'm
Likewise,
very
we also
grateful
have
for that.
tennis in common, right? I got to tell you,
Oh,
I got to brag. My tennis team just won locally, and we're going to states again in
oh,
Florida.
wow.
Isn't that
Mm,
cool? Right? I knew you would
wow.
appreciate that. And I did my job. I participated in at least 3 matches, right? I went 3-0. So the time that I was home, I was able to participate and actually help out. So I feel really good. It's really fun. And I'm participating in what they call a tri-level tournament this weekend. So I'm looking forward to the weekend of tennis.
Oh, listen, I hurt my knee and 10 years ago, literally 10 years ago, and that's when my tennis career came to I miss it desperately. It was a big part of my life. Uh, it is, it is what it is, and I can't play tennis anymore, but I love tennis. And I'm a big fan of the Italian tennis player, Yannick Sinner. Um, uh,
Hmm.
I marvel. I don't know how such a skinny guy.
I know, right? But I
I
think
don't.
because he's so tall, he
Uh,
gets like he snaps that serve. It's
I don't know
amazing.
how he hits with such power. I can't
I'm
process
going to come to the US Open next year and we're going to go. All right?
it.
Let's throw that out in the universe. Let's make it happen.
Deal, deal. I used to
Awesome.
live at the Open. So,
Me
uh,
too.
I would go there for 7 days in a row. I would just sit
Wow.
and stand. And I remember I was one of
I like the first weekend because you're on the outer
the best,
courts, you get to see the
best.
best players, right? And you're not in the big stadium where you're
No,
like, I can't see binocular. I love it. I
I
really
love
love
it
it. And I
too.
love doubles up close. Oh my goodness. Like how fast their reaction time is. You don't realize it on TV. It's so
It's
slow.
so fast. It's
Yeah, so cool.
so it's so and I always I lament I never took lessons and maybe I could have been a contender. Who knows? I don't know.
I hear that line.
Well, on the waterfront, I could have been a contender. I
That's
could have been
right. I hear
somebody.
it.
Marlon Brando telling Rod Steiger sitting in the back of that cab, car. I could have been a
Love it.
contender. I could have been somebody. You know, I
That's
could have been a
right.
contender. So, uh, thank you. I'm going to stop recording. We'll do a 1 minute wrap. This has been great, and please come back, and I'm going to see if I can orchestrate you coming back. I know you are busy, but
Oh,
thank
I
you.
love that. Well, I
Thank you.
know you're going to put stuff in the show notes, but if people want to connect with me, besides going on Amazon to get my book, they can go to my website at
Fine.
soulintelligencemethod.com. And that's soul, like SOUL,
Huh?
okay? The real good stuff, the real soul. Soulintelligencemethod.com. And
I'll
they'll
have
find
that.
me and connect
It'll
with
be there.
me. And I do offer a free group session once a month, the first Wednesday of every month at 6 Eastern. So there'll be one soon. And you can sign up for that on my website and get a little taste of soul intelligence.
Okay, great. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Christine. I need
I'm
to,
so glad we connected, Calvin.
yeah,
You're going to be one of my buddies. I know it.
I would love that. Love that because all this commonality and the nice thing is you didn't see any orbs go by me. And
I did. I just didn't bring it to your attention,
did
doll.
you? Did you
I
see?
swear to God. I swear to God, one went that way early in the start.
Oh, shouldn't have
You
told
got,
me.
it's good. You got people all around
I
you that love
know that.
you.
I know. Listen,
Just because you can't see them doesn't mean they're not there,
yeah,
right?
I know
They're
they're there.
dimensional
Listen,
beings coming by.
when I fell down, 11 steps a year and a half ago, and
You
I
know
should
they
have
were there to
died.
pick you up. You
Somebody,
know it.
somebody held me together.
You're darn right.
So it was them.
I got chills. It's all good. There's nothing
All
malevolent.
good. No, it is all good. I know that.
It's a good presence. It's a
It's a
loving
gift.
presence.
It's a wonderful gift.
All right. Well, have a great rest of your day.
Yes.
And
Don't
I
leave.
love talking to you because you sound like home and it makes me so happy.
Thank you. Thank you. Don't leave. We're just going to do a 30-second wrap. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.